Imagine a city lost to time, a place so old its secrets are buried beneath layers of earth and sand. This city, called Mohenjo-Daro, means the mound of the dead men. In a land that now lies within modern-day Pakistan, a grand civilization flourished nearly 5,000 years ago, around 2500 BCE. Its people built vast structures and planned streets, creating one of the first major cities in human history, standing alongside ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia as one of humanity's earliest marvels. With nearly 40,000 people, Mohenjo-Daro was once a bustling center of trade, culture, and knowledge. Yet for reasons still unknown, this grand city fell silent around 1700 BCE. Its people left, their footsteps disappearing into history, and the city was covered over time, forgotten. But what happened to Mohenjo-Daro? Why did it vanish? In the 1920s, after centuries of silence, archaeologists stumbled upon the remains of this once great city. Since then, they have unearthed secrets of its people, its culture, and its way of life. And today, as we journey back in time, let us unravel the mysteries of Mohenjo-Daro, exploring the lives, hopes, and perhaps even the tragic end of this ancient city. Mohenjo-Daro was not just any settlement. It was one of the largest and most advanced cities of the ancient Indus Valley civilization. Its people crafted an organized layout with neatly planned streets, sturdy buildings, and systems for managing water and waste, a glimpse of their incredible knowledge and skills. This city was alive with markets, workshops, and homes, and its people led lives filled with trade, craftsmanship, and learning. But Mohenjo-Daro did not stand alone. Other great cities were built along the Indus River, stretching across what is now Pakistan and parts of India. This civilization was vast, rich, and connected, stretching even as far as Mesopotamia, where they traded beads, metals, and other goods. The real name of Mohenjo-Daro remains a mystery, hidden in the depths of time. We call it Mohenjo-Daro, which means mound of the dead in the Sindhi language, but this wasn't its name long ago. Some scholars have wondered what this ancient city was once called. A respected researcher, Iravatham Mahadevan, studied an old seal found at the site and proposed that its true name could have been Kukutarma, meaning the city of the cockerel. Perhaps the people of this city had a deep, symbolic connection with the cockerel, a bird we know today as the rooster. Some believe that cockfighting, a practice involving roosters, might have held ritual meaning, or maybe even religious significance for them. It is also thought that Mohenjo-Daro could have been a key place from which the domesticated chicken spread, eventually reaching lands as far as Africa, Europe, and the Americas. Imagine this ancient city echoing with the crowing of roosters and people honoring them in ways we may never fully understand. As we dive deeper into the story of Mohenjo-Daro, the city of mysteries, the rituals and lives of its people seem to come alive once more. The silence of this once thriving city leaves us with questions, inviting us to ponder, to wonder, and to listen as we unveil each layer of its fascinating history. Mohenjo-Daro rests quietly along the west bank of the lower Indus River, within what is now Larkana district, Sindh, Pakistan. Positioned on a natural ridge, this ancient city lies near the edge of the Indus floodplain, about 28 kilometers or 17 miles from the town of Larkana. Around 2600 BCE, this remarkable city was built, becoming one of the largest and most advanced centers of the Indus Valley civilization, also known as the Harappan civilization. This ancient civilization arose from the prehistoric Indus culture around 3000 BCE and soon blossomed into a vast and complex society. The Indus Valley Civilization spanned across a large area, covering much of today's Pakistan and northern India. At its peak, it stretched westward toward the Iranian border, south into Gujarat, India, and north into regions as far as Bactria. Mohenjo-Daro was only one of many urban marvels, standing proudly alongside other major centers like Harappa, Lothal, Kalibangan, Dholavira, and Rakhigarhi. Yet Mohenjo-Daro stood apart. It was the most advanced city of its age, demonstrating a level of civil engineering and urban planning that was far ahead of its time. With carefully organized streets, advanced drainage systems, and sturdy structures, it offered a glimpse into the lives of a people who understood the complexities of living in an organized, efficient society. But, like so many ancient wonders, Mohenjo-Daro's glory was not to last. Around 1900 BCE, the entire Indus Valley civilization began to decline, and this once thriving city was abandoned, its streets left silent. What led to this sudden decline? Why did the people of Mohenjo-Daro walk away from their great city, leaving it to be reclaimed by nature? For nearly 3,700 years, Mohenjo-Daro lay quietly, its secrets hidden beneath layers of time, untouched and undisturbed. Generations passed, and no one knew the city's story or the lives once lived here. It wasn't until 1919, when a dedicated officer of the Archaeological Survey of India named R.D. Banerjee visited, that Mohenjo-Daro would begin to reveal itself to the world once more. At first, Banerjee thought he was looking at an ancient Buddhist structure, but then he found something. A small flint scraper, a tool that seemed to whisper of a much older past. This tiny artifact convinced Banerjee that he had found something far more ancient, a lost city waiting to be uncovered. Soon after, large-scale excavations began, led by K.N. Dixit in 1924 and by John Marshall the following year. The 1930s saw even more explorations, with archaeologists like Marshall, D.K. Dikshitar, and Ernest Mackay digging carefully into the past, each discovery peeling back another layer of this forgotten civilization. In 1945, Mortimer Wheeler, along with his trainee, Ahmad Hassan Dani, continued the work, uncovering more of the city's mysteries. Imagine it, year by year, piece by piece, Mohenjo-Daro rising again from the dust, as if it were waking from an ancient slumber. By the 1960s, George F. Dales led the last major series of excavations. But soon after, it was clear that the exposed ruins were vulnerable to weather and time. The decision was made to stop digging, to protect what remained of this fragile treasure. Since then, only gentle, careful studies have been allowed: surface surveys, conservation work, and delicate probing of the soil. In the 1980s, German and Italian teams used new, less invasive techniques to further study the city, led by Michael Janssen and Maurizio Tosi. Instead of digging, they carefully documented structures and surfaces, using technology to glimpse into the past without disturbing it. Then, in 2015, a new discovery came to light. A careful drilling survey by Pakistan's National Fund for Mohenjo-Daro revealed something incredible. The city beneath the earth was even larger than what had been uncovered. Mohenjo-Daro, it seems, is still not finished revealing its secrets to us. How many more stories are hidden beneath the earth waiting to be discovered? Mohenjo-Daro wasn't just any city. It was a marvel of planning and organization, with streets and buildings arranged on a careful grid. Picture it, orderly rows of rectilinear buildings stretching out across the city, built mostly from fired and mortared brick, with some structures even made of sun-dried mud brick and sturdy wooden beams. This was a city that covered around 300 hectares, with an estimated peak population reaching 40,000 people. For an ancient city, Mohenjo-Daro was truly vast. The layout of Mohenjo-Daro reveals a society that valued order, comfort, and functionality. The city was divided into two main areas, the citadel and the lower city. Rising about 12 meters high, the citadel was a grand mud brick mound that held important public spaces. Here you would find the public baths, assembly halls, and even a large residential building thought to house around 5,000 people. Imagine the bustling life around the central marketplace, where people gathered to trade goods and news. Water was drawn from a large central well, while smaller wells served individual households or groups. Ingeniously, wastewater from the homes was directed into covered drains lining the main streets, a remarkably advanced sanitation system for its time. Some homes even had their own rooms set aside for bathing, likely belonging to the wealthier families of the city. One building contained a fascinating feature, an underground furnace or hippocaust, which may have been used to heat water for bathing. What would it have been like to live in such a place, a city where order and cleanliness were woven into the fabric of daily life? Most houses opened onto peaceful inner courtyards, where families might gather, shielded from the busy streets. Doors often led to quiet side lanes, creating a calm and organized living environment. And some homes even rose 2 stories high, a rarity in ancient architecture. These structures tell a story of a people who cherished their surroundings and took pride in their way of life. Mohenjo-Daro was not just a place to live, it was a carefully crafted world, a testament to the ingenuity and vision of the Indus Valley civilization. In the year 1950, Sir Mortimer Wheeler, a respected archaeologist, looked upon the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro and noticed something striking, a massive building, which he came to call the Great Granary. With its large structure and sturdy walls, it seemed perfectly designed for storing grain. Wheeler imagined carts rumbling in from the countryside, their drivers unloading fresh harvests into carefully divided bays within the granary, each bay ventilated by air ducts to keep the grain dry. But was it truly a granary? Years later, Jonathan Mark Kenoyer would examine this theory more closely and realize something curious. No traces of grain had ever been found within this granary. This led him to wonder, could this large building have served a different purpose? Kenoyer proposed it might be a great hall, its true function still shrouded in mystery. Close to this great hall lies one of Mohenjo-Daro's most remarkable structures, the Great Bath. This large public bathhouse is like nothing else in the ancient world. Imagine it. A beautiful colonnaded courtyard with steps leading down into a carefully crafted pool lined with bitumen to make it waterproof. Measuring 12 meters long, 7 meters wide, and almost 8 feet deep. This bath was likely used for more than just washing. Some believe it played a vital role in the people's spiritual lives, a place where they purified themselves, perhaps before important ceremonies or rituals. What did it feel like to descend those steps, surrounded by the soft echoes of water in that silent pool? Mohenjo-Daro was home to other grand buildings as well. There was the Pillared Hall, which archaeologists believe may have been a gathering place, a space for assembly where decisions could be made and stories could be shared. And then there was the College Hall, a vast complex with 78 rooms, thought to be where the priests and wise leaders of the city lived, perhaps spending their days guiding the people and performing sacred duties. Each of these structures speaks to the life of a community that valued ritual, order, and connection. What wisdom did they pass on within those walls? What stories were told in those grand halls? Interestingly, Mohenjo-Daro didn't have traditional city walls surrounding it like many ancient settlements. Instead, it was fortified in a more subtle way, with guard towers to the west and strong defensive structures to the south. These details suggest that Mohenjo-Daro may have been an administrative center, a hub for governance within the Indus Valley civilization. It shared a similar architectural layout with Harappa, another key city in the region, which hints at a unified planning approach across these ancient cities. This organized planning wasn't just for show. The people of Mohenjo-Daro designed their city with purpose and care, beginning with its water supply and sanitation systems. The city had over 700 wells, an extraordinary number when you consider other ancient civilizations, such as Egypt or Mesopotamia, had far fewer. In Mohenjo-Daro, this abundance of wells meant that there was one well for every 3 houses, ensuring easy access to water even if the city were to face a drought or siege. Imagine walking the streets and seeing these circular brick wells scattered across the neighborhoods, each well representing the ingenuity of the Indus Valley people. This design is believed to have been unique to the Indus civilization. There is no evidence of such well construction in contemporary Mesopotamia or Egypt, or even in later periods. But the marvels of Mohenjo-Daro's planning didn't end with water access. A centralized drainage system lined the streets, channeling waste and used water efficiently out of the city. These drains, carefully built to carry waste towards the Indus River, were highly advanced for their time, and they kept the city clean and its people healthy. How advanced and thoughtful this system was, each part of the city working in harmony to support the daily lives of its people. Through these details, we catch a glimpse of a society that valued order, safety, and the well-being of its citizens. Mohenjo-Daro was not just a collection of buildings. It was a living, breathing city, designed with great care to withstand the challenges of nature and time. Mohenjo-Daro was a city prepared for the unpredictable might of nature. Large platforms were built, possibly to protect it from the frequent floods of the Indus River. Some experts believe the city may have been flooded and buried by layers of silt, only to be rebuilt again, perhaps 6 times or even more. Imagine the resilience of these ancient people, determined to rebuild their home, stone by stone, each time the river challenged them. Some archaeologists suggest that it wasn't a single, catastrophic flood that brought the city to its end, but rather a series of smaller floods. Gregory Possehl theorized that, over time, these mini-floods, coupled with the strain of constant farming and resource use, may have gradually weakened the land itself. Mohenjo-Daro wasn't defeated in one sweeping event. Rather, it was worn down, quietly, over time. But the artifacts left behind tell another story, one of a city rich in artistry and daily life. Excavations have revealed a treasure trove of objects, from copper tools and carved seals to scales, weights, and even children's toys. Among these were bronze and copper figures, crafted using the lost wax method, an advanced technique that demonstrates the skill of Mohenjo-Daro's metalworkers. In the northeastern part of the city, an area dedicated entirely to shellworking shows the diverse skills of its artisans, Perhaps the most mysterious finds were the copper tablets, engraved with symbols and images in an undeciphered script. Some tablets, for example, show a mountain goat alongside repetitive inscriptions. Although the meaning of the script remains a mystery, these symbols hint at the language and perhaps the thoughts of Mohenjo-Daro's people, a silent message from a world we still don't fully understand. In homes across the city, archaeologists found pottery with ash deposits, suggesting they may have been used as small braziers to keep homes warm. Some may have served dual purposes, used for both heating and cooking. These little pots, simple yet essential, offer a glimpse into the daily lives of Mohenjo-Daro's people, their small comforts and routines. After Mohenjo-Daro's rediscovery, its treasures traveled far. The finds were initially stored in Lahore, but with India's independence and the partition that followed, the artifacts needed to be divided. In the end, around 12,000 objects were split between India and Pakistan. Sometimes even necklace beads were separated into two piles. Pakistan received the famous priest-king statue, while India retained the dancing girl and the Pashupati seal. Today, these priceless pieces are housed in the National Museum of Pakistan in Karachi and the National Museum of India in New Delhi, with others preserved in the museum at Mohenjo-Daro itself. In 1939, a small collection was even sent to the British Museum, a reminder of Mohenjo-Daro's enduring connection to history. The legacy of Mohenjo-Daro lives on, not just in its silent ruins, but in the pieces scattered across museums, each a fragment of a forgotten world, each whispering the quiet story of a city lost to time. Mohenjo-Daro was built with remarkable planning, but it faced a powerful, ever-present challenge: floods from the Indus River. The people took precautions, constructing large platforms, possibly to help defend the city against these rising waters. One popular theory, first suggested by archaeologist Sir Mortimer Wheeler, proposes that Mohenjo-Daro could have experienced 6 major floods, each time covering it with layers of silt. After each disaster, the people are thought to have rebuilt on the same spot. Their resilience and determination to keep going in the same location, even in the face of nature's force, speak to the strength of their community. However, more recent ideas suggest that it may not have been one sudden flood that led to Mohenjo-Daro's end. Gregory Possehl, a scholar on ancient civilizations, proposed that the land around the city may have slowly degraded over time due to many small floods and the city's heavy use of local resources. As people expanded their fields, grazed animals, and used the land's clay and water, the land itself might have gradually become less fertile and less able to support a large city. Instead of a single, catastrophic flood, this theory suggests a slow decline due to many small, constant pressures. The objects uncovered in Mohenjo-Daro reveal much about life in this ancient city. When archaeologists began exploring the ruins, they found a wide array of items. Among these were small statues, metal tools, carved seals, weights and scales, jewelry made of gold and jasper, and even toys. These discoveries suggest that the people of Mohenjo-Daro were skilled artisans and craftspeople with a diverse, vibrant society. A particularly interesting find at the site was a range of bronze and copper objects. Among these were figurines and bowls, many of which were made using a technique known as the lost wax process. This method involves shaping an object in wax, coating it with clay to create a mold, and then melting out the wax, leaving a hollow space to fill with metal. This method requires precision and skill, showing that the artisans of Mohenjo-Daro had a deep understanding of metalworking. The site even appears to have had a designated area for shell working, located in the northeastern part of the city, where craftsmen may have shaped shells into jewelry or decorative pieces. One of the most intriguing discoveries in Mohenjo-Daro was a series of copper tablets inscribed with the Indus script, a writing system that has yet to be deciphered. Some of these tablets feature images, and in some cases the same image and inscription appear on multiple tablets. For instance, 3 separate tablets each show a mountain goat and have the same symbols on the back. This repetition suggests these symbols may have conveyed specific meanings, though, for now, the true meaning remains a mystery. The pottery and terracotta fragments found in Mohenjo-Daro offer further clues about daily life. Many pots have ashes inside, leading some archaeologists to believe they might have been used to hold the remains of a deceased person, or even as simple indoor heaters. These ash-filled pots, called braziers, may have served multiple purposes: warming homes, possibly cooking food, or straining materials. This range of possibilities highlights the resourcefulness of Mohenjo-Daro's people in using their tools for various practical needs. As Mohenjo-Daro's treasures were unearthed, they were initially stored in the Lahore Museum. However, as British India approached independence, it became clear that the nation would split into India and Pakistan. And with this came a need to divide historical finds between the two new countries. Around 12,000 items in total were divided down to the smallest pieces of pottery. In some cases, items with multiple parts, such as necklaces, were split into 2 parts to ensure both nations received equal portions. 2 particularly famous statues from Mohenjo-Daro, the priest king and the dancing girl, were also divided. Pakistan received the larger priest king statue, which depicts a figure wearing a detailed robe and headband, while India received the smaller dancing girl, a graceful figure standing with one hand on her hip. India also retained the Pashupati seal, a carved tablet that shows what appears to be a figure surrounded by animals, possibly representing a deity associated with the later Hindu god Shiva. Today, many of Mohenjo-Daro's artifacts are displayed in Pakistan's National Museum in Karachi and India's National Museum in New Delhi. Some objects remain in the Lahore Museum, while others can be seen in the museum established on-site at Mohenjo-Daro itself. A small collection was even sent to the British Museum in 1939. Through these objects, Mohenjo-Daro's story has endured across the ages. The city's ruins tell us about the creativity, resilience, and complexity of a society that thrived thousands of years ago. Even though the people of Mohenjo-Daro are long gone, their legacy lives on through the items they left behind, allowing us to glimpse a moment in history preserved through time. In 1931, the archaeologist John Marshall uncovered a particularly intriguing idol at Mohenjo-Daro that seemed to hint at a shared cultural belief with ancient Near Eastern civilizations, the worship of a mother goddess. This type of goddess, linked with fertility and motherhood, was a common theme in many early cultures. During his excavations, Marshall discovered numerous sculptures and figurines that seemed to depict women. However, it turned out that these figures hadn't been carefully organized, so where exactly they had been found within the site wasn't fully recorded. One of these figurines, standing at 18.7 centimeters tall, is now on display at the National Museum of Pakistan in Karachi. Marshall observed that these figurines often highlighted certain physical features associated with fertility, such as female genitalia, which were depicted in an exaggerated manner. This led him to believe that these figures weren't meant to represent the goddess herself, but rather served as offerings made to her. Their variety in hairstyles, body shapes, headdresses, and jewelry has sparked further theories about their purpose. One researcher, Shireen Ratnagar, suggests that these figurines might actually represent everyday women, who possibly commissioned these figures to use in rituals or healing ceremonies meant for themselves. Among Mohenjo-Daro's treasures is an iconic bronze statuette known as the Dancing Girl, which stands just 10.5 centimeters, 4.1 inches tall. This statuette, dating back around 4,500 years, was discovered in 1926 in an area of the city designated as HR Area, and now resides in the National Museum in New Delhi. In 1973, British archaeologist Mortimer Wheeler described the statuette with particular fondness, calling it his favorite piece. He imagined her as a confident young girl, around 15 years old, who stands there with bangles all the way up her arm and nothing else on. To Wheeler, she embodied youthful confidence, boldly facing the world without hesitation. John Marshall, another leading archaeologist who worked at Mohenjo-Daro, also saw something unique in the dancing girl. He described her pose as half-impudent, with one hand resting on her hip, her legs set slightly forward, and a look that seemed as if she was rhythmically moving to unheard music. Gregory Possehl, another scholar, was struck by her posture and expression, remarking that although we might never know for sure if she was a dancer, it was clear she was talented and fully aware of her skills. This remarkable statuette brought two key insights into the Indus Valley civilization. First, it confirmed that the people of Mohenjo-Daro had mastered advanced metalworking techniques, such as blending and casting metals. Second, it showed that activities like dance and entertainment held a meaningful place in their culture. The dancing girl remains a symbol of both the artistic skill and cultural richness of the civilization, offering us a glimpse into the lives and creative expressions of a people long past. In 1927, archaeologists found a unique soapstone statue in Mohenjo-Daro. The statue was in a building with fancy brickwork and a small niche in the wall. While there isn't any clear evidence of priests or kings in Mohenjo-Daro, this statue has a dignified look, so archaeologists called him the Priest King. The statue is about 17.5 centimeters, 6.9 inches tall, and shows a man with a well-groomed beard, pierced earlobes, and a band around his head, possibly part of a detailed hairstyle or headdress. His hair is combed back, he wears an armband, and his cloak has designs made of drilled shapes. There are hints of red color on the cloak, and his eyes might have been inlaid with a different material to make them look lifelike. Another interesting find at the site is a seal with a cross-legged figure surrounded by animals. Some experts think this figure might be a yogi, a person in deep meditation, while others think it could be an early form of the Hindu god Shiva, known as the Lord of Animals. This seal gives a glimpse into the spiritual or symbolic world of the Indus Valley people. One beautiful piece of jewelry from Mohenjo-Daro is a necklace called the Seven-Stranded Necklace. Archaeologist Sir Mortimer Wheeler admired this piece, believing it to be around 4,500 years old. The necklace has an S-shaped clasp and 7 long strands of beads, each about 4 feet long, made of bronze metal nuggets. Each strand has between 220 and 230 nuggets, totaling around 1,600 beads. It weighs about 250 grams and is now in a private collection in India. The people of Mohenjo-Daro also made an ivory ruler used around 1500 BCE. This ruler was divided into units about 34 millimeters, 1.32 inches long, with each unit divided further into smaller parts with impressive accuracy. A ruler found at Lothal, another Indus Valley site, dates back to around 2400 BCE and was marked in 1.6 millimeter, 1/16 of an inch, sections. The careful design of these rulers with small decimal divisions shows that people of this civilization understood precise measurement. This skill came long before the modern metric system, by about 3,000 years. Their main unit of measure was called the angula, or finger, which was around 17 millimeters long. A shell piece found during an earlier excavation was marked with lines 6.7 millimeters, 0.264 inches apart, showing just how detailed they were. Bricks found in the area also seem to have been made using these same measurement units, which shows that their building practices were well organized and consistent across the region. An agreement to fund restoration work for Mohenjo-Daro was set up with the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, in Paris on May 27, 1980. Many countries contributed to this project. However, in December 1996, preservation work stopped when the funding from the Pakistani government and international organizations ran out. In April 1997, conservation work began again with funds provided by UNESCO. They had a 20-year plan with $10 million dedicated to protecting the site from flooding. In 2011, the responsibility for maintaining Mohenjo-Daro was handed over to the government of Sindh. The site now faces threats from rising groundwater salinity and improper restoration methods. Many walls have already fallen, while others are slowly crumbling from the ground up. In 2012, Pakistani archaeologists warned that if better conservation efforts are not taken, Mohenjo-Daro could vanish completely by 2030. In January 2014, the Mohenjo-Daro site faced a new threat when Bilawal Bhutto Zardari of the Pakistan People's Party, PPP, chose the site for the opening ceremony of the Sindh Festival. This decision meant that the site would be exposed to mechanical operations, like drilling and excavation. Farzand Masih, head of the archaeology department at Punjab University, warned that this kind of work was forbidden under the Antiquity Act. He stated, "You cannot even hammer a nail at an archaeological site." On January 31, 2014, a legal case was filed in the Sindh High Court to stop the event. Despite objections from both national and international historians, the PPP held the festival at this historic location. Mohenjo-Daro experiences a hot desert climate, classified as BWH under the Köppen climate classification. Summers are extremely hot, while winters are mild. The highest recorded temperature is 53.7 degrees, 128.7 degrees, recorded in May 2010, and the lowest is 5.4 degrees, 22.3 degrees, recorded in January 2006. Rainfall is low and mostly happens during the monsoon season, from July to September. On average, Mohenjo-Daro receives 100.1 mm of rain annually, mostly during the monsoon. The highest yearly rainfall recorded was 10 to 23.8 mm in 2022, and the lowest was just 10 mm in 1987. Stay with us as we dive deeper into forgotten worlds, uncovering mysteries etched in ancient stone. Until next time, let the echoes of Mohenjo-Daro linger, and get ready for our next journey back in time.